His name is Sigurður Guðbrandsson, Siggi, and he is a self-proclaimed nerd, which is obsessed with improving online user experience and revenue for his clients. So he sure knows how to party. And he's been in tech for over 2 decades and has turned all his focus on helping others improve their end user experience. So, Siggi, take it away.
Thanks. How are y'all doing? Well, that's perfect. Are you enjoying the show now? Yeah? Perfect. So yeah, I'm going to explain a bit and talk a bit about fast websites, slow websites, and customer acquisition. Namely, do websites get more customers when they're fast or slow, or doesn't matter at all? Now, can you please raise your hands? Who has a website? And it's a part of your business, right? Right, okay, so this is perfect for you guys, because this is for people who have websites, who need to translate something to their customers, either by having a buy button, you want to sell something online, or maybe just tell them where you are or what you have for sale. Now, what you're going to discover here is if speed is related to more buyers or less buyers, if a faster website gets you more clients. You're going to see how staples increase their online revenue by 10% without adding any more traffic to their website. You're going to learn how fast your website should be for users to experience a good user experience. And you're going to learn how to improve your existing website. We're also going to cover if speed has an effect on your search engine rankings. Now, who am I? This is a picture where this is my first trip up a mountain, and I was pretty parched. Well, I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, but what I care about deeply is experience for people. Like you, I want you guys to experience a nice time listening to me. I know that I'm the last thing between you and the beer, so I really want to make a good experience for you guys. Yeah, so I started taking a look at this thing, user experience, on the internet a year and a half ago, and I founded a company around that called Falcon. So I took a look at how websites, how website A and website B differ, where website A sells a lot more, and website B, which looks just like website A, sells way less. And I started noticing a trend, and I saw the trend in website speed. Now, first off, here's a question for you guys. I want you to answer this in your head. Can you do one simple thing on your website today that can increase your revenue by 7% for the whole year? Easily. So can you do something today that's easy, simple, and it's going to give you 7% more revenue for the rest of the year? And I'm going to answer that question in a bit. We're going to take a look at how web speed affects buying decisions. So Amazon, do you guys know Amazon? Yeah? They did a really big study where they took their websites and did an A/B split test where they had their website, and then they slowed down their website for some customers. And they measured what the effect was. So what happened was really interesting. 100 milliseconds, 1/10 of a second, meant 1% drop in their revenue. So that's 1% less for 1/10 of a second. Imagine a whole second. Google, do you guys know why you only get 10 results per page? The reason is Google actually tried to put 20 results, and what happened was the website was 500 milliseconds, half a second longer to load, which meant they lost 20% of people. Glasses Direct in the UK, they did a study. They hired a company to test this out for them. They found out 1 second was 6.7% loss of conversion. Walmart, they also did a fantastic study. They showed everything they did, and they found out that 1 second for them meant 2% increase. Staples, what they found out was 1 second meant 10% increase in conversion. This is mammoth. This is huge. So, as an answer to you guys, can you do one thing, simple one thing, to your website to make it 7% more profitable? The answer is yes. Just make it 1 second faster. Just 1 second. Now, there are a bunch of stuff on the slides here, and you're going to be able to download them afterwards. So I'm going to give you the link. But let me ask you guys to understand why this is happening. Let's imagine a question. This is something I've been wondering about since I was a kid. Who came first, the chicken or the egg? So imagine we have this question. We're part of a university, and we have two professors in this university. And we want to know which came first, the chicken or the egg. And we go to the professor. He says, well, that's a very interesting question. You have to begin by thinking about how life began and blah, 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 blah. Half an hour later, I'm asleep, and I didn't learn the answer. I go to the second professor and ask him, hey, professor, who came first, the chicken or the egg? And he goes, well, the egg, of course. Do you want to know why? And, you know, I either answer yes or no. But later on, let's imagine now in the future, 2 weeks pass, and I have another question. Who am I going to ask? The one that didn't give me the answer, or the one that gave me an answer in a second? Which one would you guys pick? The second one, the fast one, or yeah? So the same thing, if somebody asks me a question I can't answer, who am I going to point towards? Am I going to say the professor that can't tell me the answer, or the professor that can tell me the answer within a second? Again, I'm going to point towards the professor that tells me the answer immediately. Now, how fast should your website be? Again, we take a look at the study from Walmart. This is actual data they collected before they did any modification to their website. And they found out, you can see the red line, that's conversions. That's how many people, how high a percentage bought. The blue bars are the percentage of users, and the long axis is the time. So 0 to 1 second, we have a small percentage, but a high conversion rate. A lot of people who got the website this fast bought. The second one is 1 to 2 seconds, and relatively high, but quite a bit less bought. Then 2 to 3 seconds, again. But we can see that this trend stops in 3 to 4 seconds. So how fast should your website be? Aim to load it within 3 seconds. Now, why is this happening? Have you ever gone to a convenience store, Kronan Bonus? You go and you put all the stuff in your cart, like this fancy dog here. And then you have all the stuff. You go up to the checkout lanes, and you see they're all full, like there are 10, 20 people per lane, except one lane. And this actually happened to me last Wednesday. I was in Kronan. There were many lanes that were packed full. And I saw there was one lane that was, not quite visible. So I went there. Why did I pick that lane? Because I had my daughter. I didn't want to stay in a checkout lane. I wanted to get home and actually cook food. But once I got to the checkout lane, I started noticing that my checkout lane didn't move at all. But every single other lane moved. So I was stuck there. Now, I had a decision to make. Either I go to the other lane, or I stay in this lane and I don't know when I'm going to go home. Guess what I did? I went to the other lane. Now, why did I do it? Because I wanted to get home. My hobbies include many, many, many things. Waiting in line is not one of them. So I wanted to get home. I wanted things to be quick. And when I'm online, I want the same thing, except I don't like waiting 3 seconds rather than 3 minutes. So this happens because we don't like to wait. Like you guys, you're waiting for the beer. Now, how fast should your website be? It should load under 3 seconds. It's very good if you manage to get it to 1 to 2 seconds. If it's under a second, then it's fantastic. But if it's more than 3, you have to fix your site because you're losing customers. On a psychology, if we take a look at the psychology of this, this is happening because we perceive responsiveness when we use devices. This is the results from a big study by psychologists that measured the responsiveness of things and how users felt during that time. So there's a tiny yellow bar there. That's 0 to 100 milliseconds. And that's something we perceive as instant. It happened immediately when I clicked the button. 100 to 300 milliseconds, we see a small delay, but we find that it's really responsive. 300 milliseconds to a second is, we keep the attention to the machine. We're waiting for the screen to update. But after 1 second, we start to let our minds wander. We can't do anything about this. This just happens. We start thinking about Facebook or what we're going to cook or the last episode of Grey's Anatomy or something. And after 10 seconds, we abandon the website. We abandon the task. So we might open a new tab to go to Facebook while we're waiting, or maybe we close it. Now, for me, I sometimes, if I'm buying something, I just go out of the website and go to the competitors. And this is what people do. Now, how fast are e-commerce websites? There's a company called Radware that measures this, has been measuring this for years, and they found that only 12% of the top 100 e-commerce websites rendered their main content. So when you go to a website, you see everything that's in the browser. Only 12% rendered it in under 3 seconds. That's very bad. Now, how does that compare to Iceland? I actually did a study on the top 120 websites in Iceland, and I measured them all. But first, I want to ask you guys, do you know how fast your website loads for your visitors? Do you know how long they have to wait until everything pops up? And does it load under 3 seconds? Most people don't know. Some people know. I see one person nodding. So yes, obviously. That's very good. But how fast are Icelandic websites? We can see from this chart, which you can download later. Most websites load in more than 4 seconds, or more than, 3 seconds. Most Icelandic websites load in more than 3 seconds. That's fantastic, because that's where you guys can go in and you can own the market. You have a competitive edge. So if it's an online business, then you can take some business away from the other top websites, simply by making the website faster and snappier. People are going to be happier when they browse your website. Now, you might ask, and I get this question a lot, what if my website is just so huge? It's really mammoth, the website. Well, I would say aim for less than 3 seconds. And if 3 seconds is impossible for your tech guy or web guy or whoever, then make sure to try to ask him to load the above the fold, the stuff that you see immediately first, and all the Twitter widgets and the like buttons that you have on the bottom that nobody sees anyway. Don't load that immediately, only when the user scrolls down. So, does your website speed affect SEO at all? I've had this question, and I was really curious about this as well. And Google says, yes, they said that we're including a new signal in our search ranking algorithms, site speed. So this is directly from Google's Webmaster blog. And a lot of people from all of the search engine optimization circles, they started wondering, what's going on, and is this a big thing that affects the rankings, or is this a small thing? So they sat down to research this. And a company called Moz, which was previously known as SEO Moz, a really big company in the search engine circles, they asked a company called Zoomf to do a study. So they asked them to research basically search engine results and figure out if website speed has any correlation to rankings. And so they took 2,000 random queries, search queries, and they got the top 50 websites for every single query, which means 100,000 websites. And they mapped the whole thing. What happened was that most of the metrics, they had no correlation. So it didn't appear to be, there didn't appear to be any correlation between website speed and search engine rankings. But one metric, there's only one metric, this is the time to first byte. They found that websites that have a lower time to first byte were more often in the first, it depended on all your competitors, but if you had a faster time to first byte than your competitor, then you were likely to be in spot number 1 or in the first page or whatever. Now, the time to first byte here in Iceland, now this is really interesting. In the chart you saw before, the time was between 0.3 seconds and 0.6 seconds. Here in Iceland, most websites, the response time for the first byte is way higher. It's over 700 milliseconds. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if you want to own the search engine, simply fix this one thing, and you're going to get some extra SEO power on your website. Now, you might wonder, how do I measure my website? Isn't it enough just to open it in my browser? Well, yes and no. So you want to know how your visitors feel, how fast it is for them. So there are two ways. One is external testing, and I use this tool called webpagetest.org, and I'm actually sponsoring one server here in Iceland, so you can measure how fast your website loads for Icelandic people, and it's an actual. It tests it in an actual browser, so it's not some super duper server. It's an actual hardware that's testing this. The other way is to use what Walmart used, called Boomerang, and that tool is going to tell you, basically, it's going to go into the browser for the user and tell you, hey, the website loaded in 5.3 seconds for me. So it sends the data to you. So just here's a quick overview of webpagetest.org. So you begin by entering your URL. You then select a location if you want some other location. By default, it's in Dulles in Washington, D.C. Then you select the browser, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, whatever, and you click on the Start Tests. And then in a short while, you're going to get the results. And we have these. There are so many numbers there. It drives me insane. But there are a couple of numbers there. There's the first view. This is the important thing for your visitors. This is an Icelandic website. I'm not gonna say which one, but it was 14 seconds to display the results. The first byte, the SEO metric, that's this one here. As you can see, it's 1.2 seconds. Not very good. Then you have the size of the document complete. That's basically when people see the first thing, see the whole above the fold view, and then you have the fully loaded, which is 6 megabytes. Now this website is really big, really slow, and they should fix it. But you have the option to do the same thing for your website, basically. And since you're here, you now know of this, and you can start implementing, at least you can start testing your website and see if it's actually acceptable for users. Now, Boomerang, as I said, it's a JavaScript library. It lives in your browser, so you would add it as just another front-end stuff. You add it to your code, and it lives in the browser. It collects data and then sends it to a server. You can instruct it to, for instance, send data to Google Analytics or whatever, but this sends the data to wherever you want, and then you can see how users are experiencing your site, and you can start measuring, did that user buy or not. This is a free tool, and it's open source, so you can download it and play with it. Now, how do you improve your website? What's the biggest thing you can do? So the first thing that people think about is to move. I'm going to move my website to a faster server. And I'm telling you that's not the key. I've helped. One of my clients had the fastest server in the world. His website still loaded in 60 seconds. This was a big problem for him because he was losing customers. So what we did was we measured the site, and then we compressed the images. You can compress the images without losing any quality, and you can save sometimes up to 10 to 60%. The JavaScript files, you've got a lot of JavaScript files. Join them together in one file to make it easier for the browser to download. CSS files, do the same thing. Compress them into a single file or 2 files. And you'll see 10 to 40% improvement. Static pages. Pages that have the same, so if many users go to a single page and they always get the same content, then you should cache it, because you're making your server do a lot of stuff, and the site is going to be slow. Simply by caching your static pages, you can see 5 to 60% improvement. These are actual numbers from my clients. Defer loading. So remember when I talked about stuff in the bottom? The Twitter widgets and the like buttons. Don't load them until the user scrolls down. If you have a lot of images, don't load the images that are on the bottom. Just what the user wants. And that's how you get the fast user experience for the user. And you're going to see 10 to 60% improvement on that. So, to summarize, 1 second can mean 7% revenue for your company, for your website. Your website should load. You should always aim to less than 3 seconds. Less than 2 if you can. Website speed also has SEO powers, but as we saw, there was only one metric that matters in SEO. And you should measure and optimize your website. At least compress your images. That's going to be the biggest factor, biggest initial factor for your website. So, as I mentioned, you'll be able to download this on my website, quickfalcon.com/UTmessan. And you'll be able to download all the slides and some extra material there. So you can go there. And I don't have anything else, so thank you. Do we have any questions? Right. So yeah. Very good question. Is there something that's called a too fast website? Can a website be too fast? And the answer is yes and no. Sometimes, if you want just a quick experience, like I want this item now, and then you might get, hey, many people also buy this. They buy this with this thing you just bought. So do you want that? So give them that quickly. But if you're doing something like Expedia or DoHop or some website where you search for something and you have to wait, then it's really good that you have to wait either way. So it's really good to constantly show some progress, and you might have a jumping monkey or whatever to keep the attention of the user, and maybe you have some extra deals, maybe a hotel, let's say it's DoHop. Have some hotels ready. Are you looking to stay somewhere, blah, 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 here are hotels in this area. So it depends. Sometimes you want to allow them to feel good, but don't keep them waiting with a blank screen. Keep their attention.
Okay, another question? One question from me, if I may.
Yeah.
So, because there's so much else that affects speed,
yeah.
your device, your connection, and so on, your Wi-Fi and what have you, or congested cell phone connection and what have you. Mm-hmm. So, this is one of the elements of the experience that the consumer has.
That's right.
Then there are numerous other factors. So, I'm just wondering how much this affects the whole experience that can be from many sources.
Your internet connection. Well, it's
my internet connection, my device, my something. My
right.
provider.
So this is a very good question, and I have let me just show you my telephone. It's the worst telephone in the world. It's so slow that I imagine it's actually run by the dynamos. Anyway, yes, it matters, and you should know your customers. So that's where a tool called the Boomerang tool is really useful, because it is going to tell you what type of connection your users are going to be on. And sometimes Google Analytics can give you something like that, some information, but you really want to see how fast your website is for all users. And if everybody is on 2G, crappy phones or something, then you want your website to be fast on 2G networks on crappy phones.
Excellent. Famous last words.
Famous last words. So
thank you so much, Siggi. I want to remind everybody to fill out their online appraisal for the whole conference, and also rank the booths downstairs. Now, in a minute, we will commence with Messuvín, which is the drinks afterwards, and there will be some prizes handed out to the IT person of UTmessan and so on. So hope to see you all downstairs. Thank you.
thank you.